say Kaddish. Kaddish, by the way, is the mourner's prayer that someone says when their mother or father dies. You say it for a year after they're dead. And I thought, well, I'm not going to relate to this, but I started to read it, and I have to say I was teary at some times in the book and laughing at other times in the book. It was like reading Chicken Soup for the Soul, but with a Jewish twist, with stories that were sometimes almost miraculous and just beautiful. And I want to just introduce this book because my husband actually just finished about a year and a half, 2 years ago, to say Kaddish for his mother, Zichronah Livracha. She should be for a blessing. She's a wonderful, wonderful mother-in-law, by the way. I really miss her. He had to say Kaddish for her. This is 3 times a day. You say it for a year, and you have to be at all of those synagogue meetings, minyanim, with a quorum of 10 men to say this, to be yotze, to be, I'm trying to think of the English word, to be, to fulfill your obligation. And I know that he really would have appreciated this book two years ago. So if you know anybody who is saying the Kaddish prayers for a parent that had died this year, or just want to buy something that's of religious material but has very inspiring stories, you want to get a hold of the book. It's called Living Kaddish. And our guest, who is the author of this book, is Rabbi Gary Zweig, and he's here to talk about his book. Shalom, Rabbi Zweig.
You and all your listeners, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on. So I just want you, maybe you can give a better brief rundown of exactly what Kaddish is and why it's so important to say.
Okay, Kaddish is the memorial prayer we say when we've lost a parent, also a brother or sister or son or daughter. And it is said, like you say, 3 times a day. And the whole thing is that it should be said by the mourners themselves. A lot of people found accustomed to give it out to somebody, but in all my readings, it's really a mitzvah which one should do themselves, as much as they can do, under whatever circumstances they can do. And during the year of doing it, I found a lot of people who went to a lot of levels to try to do it, wherever they were, and that's what this book is about.
All right, so basically you ask people to send in their stories of some of the most challenging or interesting challenges that they had in trying to say Kaddish for their loved one that died, and they sent in the best stories, and you published them, and some of them were so inspiring. They brought me to laughter or brought me to tears. One of the ones I really liked was the story about the JetBlue airline, where somebody had to say Kaddish on the airplane, but I'll let people read that for themselves. Why don't you share with us one of your favorite stories from the book called Living
Well,
Kaddish?
there are so many stories that I don't have enough time, but the personal things that got me there was, for example, we had already booked a trip to Florida, and Florida, I asked, Orlando, 20,000 Jews, I asked, there were 2 minyanim, 2 shuls, and I did all my groundwork, what I could do, and one morning, after all the phone calls, we only had 5 people. And I was stunned because I really wanted to say Kaddish. I called my rabbi in Toronto, and he said, by the letter of the law, you can still say Kaddish by mincha, by the afternoon service. And I realized at that point I should write a book about Kaddish experiences, because I had found people who had tried to say Kaddish, who couldn't find the minyan. Someone's from a small town, someone's on a holiday, someone's on a business trip. And it's a challenge, but it's really, and I found no difference between those that are more observant, less observant. It's those that want to honor their parents. And that's what I found, and I felt that there was quite a lot of material to do it, and that's how it came about.
All right, and when Rabbi Zweig is talking about finding a minyan, it's basically a quorum of 10 Jewish men, and that's what you need in order to be able to be yotze. It's Hebrew English thing is really throwing me for something today. But that's what he's saying. So a minyan, again, is a quorum of 10 men, and that's what you have to do in order to say Kaddish. So your book is in different countries. Why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, it's in, I found out, it's in England, Australia, South Africa, of course, the USA and Canada. It's in Israel at Mariah Books and Beit Shemesh, but also I've been fortunate to lead services wherever I go, and I take a few books from me. So they're in faraway places like Curacao, Mexico City, and other places. And that's try to make that book wherever people go. I know someone took it on a trip with them to Alaska, and they actually said they're going to say Kaddish on the cruise. They did.
Wow. And I remember one of the stories also that I read was of someone, I think it was in Belgium. He was visiting Belgium, and he was trying to find a minyan, a quorum of 10 men, to say his Kaddish prayer, and he had to go to some a building that looked like it was a warehouse, and he comes upon these Israeli guards with Uzis, and he's wondering, is he in the Mossad, in the Secret Service? What did he find here, this undescript building? And then they open up a door, and it was like in The Wizard of Oz. Everything was in color, and all of a sudden there was a festivity going on. I think it was a bar mitzvah, and the different experiences people had. It was really an inspiring book. So. And it's an important book also, again, because we all have people in our family that, it's their time to go, and we have to say this prayer. And so it's very apt for everyone. I'm going to actually hand this book now to my husband that he should read, because he can probably still identify with it, being so close to having said his Kaddish for his mother. So you're going to be going on a speaking tour, I understand.
Well, not exactly. I'm going on a Passover tour to a town called Kitchener, which is an hour away. And I basically probably will be speaking next month at a synagogue here in Toronto called Shari Torah. But just to add one point, I mean, at the beginning of the interview you mentioned that you didn't feel obligated because you're a woman. Women are as much able to say Kaddish as men. It's not the same obligation. But I've seen many
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Yeah, no. Once a day, many women do say Kaddish. Whatever. I've actually spoken to some shuls where there was quite a few women saying Kaddish. And, if someone has 3 daughters, then sometimes the daughter ends up saying the Kaddish, etc.
Right. Well, thank God I haven't had to say Kaddish, and it should be many, many years until I have to do something like that. So actually, you're going to be... Go ahead.
No, actually, the same time when I wrote this book, it was my mom had passed away, and it was March 2002. And there were many, many tragedies, unfortunately, in Israel at the time, and I really felt personal about doing those, and I ended up being in touch with many of those who had lost loved ones, and it was just something to connect to, is feeling that we all, if not personally in that situation, know people who are in that situation. We all have to try to do what we can. Someone says they can only go once a week, so let them go once a week, or whatever. But there's many people who have been inspired by saying Kaddish to carry on services all the time.
All right, where can people get your book?
Sure, so they can get it actually online, also at Amazon.com, and it's actually through Kindle now, and actually through basically any Judaica store. Simply ask for it, because it has been there. It is there. And of course, coming up to Pesach, and it's the last days of, we say Yizkor. That's a very common time for people to introspect into Kaddish and why we do it. And so, of course, if they want to email me, they can, if I can give them my email address.
Sure, go ahead.
gsweig@gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook page for Living Kaddish, as well as a blog spot, livingkaddish.blogspot.com.
All right, Rabbi Zweig, I want to thank you very much for being with us. And really, I did enjoy your book. I didn't think I would, but I really did. So that's why I'm recommending it. Thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure, and I hope to visit you, God willing, in December. We're planning to do a group there in December, and I understand you're in Beit El, and I hope we'll get there and have a chance to say hello to you.
Wonderful. Sounds great. Sounds wonderful. Only on good occasions it should be.
Amazing.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much. Have a happy Kaddish, and see you and all your listeners. Thanks again.
All right. So we're going to go to, again, some of the news here.